What up, my allies, theys, and gays? Welcome back to the Lesbian Lounge. You just get myself today because we are going to talk about New Year's resolutions. But I don't like that word resolutions because most people don't stick to those things. And we want to talk about how to give you the clarity that you need on your journey to win 2026 because I'm sure you have said that this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year that I lose the weight. This is going to be the year that I start feeling good and confident in my skin because I'm going to achieve my goals. But let me tell you here, we need to do a couple things before we can do that to achieve them. I believe every single person can reach their goals. But if we don't have the mindset locked in, then we're going to keep repeating the cycle, repeating the next week, repeating the next month, and asking ourselves, is this ever going to work? It won't work if we don't have that base built, that foundation. And that's exactly why we are going to talk about all this stuff because I know how important it is. And I want to make this clear. You are not broken. You are not able to not reach these goals because here's the thing, no one has taught you how to make this a lifestyle. You think back to when you were in PE. And the reason I bring up PE is because I talked about this on a call with my clients, and we weren't really taught on how to make it a lifestyle. What we did in our PE classes was we did the sport that we had to do, we did the testing that was required for that class to get your credit, and it made it really challenging for kids that may not be at that fitness level. So ones that did not truly feel like they fit in, why would they put themselves in settings in the classroom? It's the same thing, and now as you as an adult, why would somebody step foot into a gym when it's a trigger of the anxiety? Like, people are looking at me, I don't want to look dumb. And honestly, there's a reason why our statistics are so high. The statistics from why most people fail in the new year of weight loss or other goals. And it's because we have not even thought about this at all. We've been taught food and we've been taught workouts. The way that we've been taught food for so long is you need to consume less, be in a calorie deficit in order to lose the weight, and you need to do more workouts. I'm going to tell you right now, that's all false. Yes, these are important, but if you do not have your foundation built, you will hit your face every single time and start over every single time and question, can you do this? So here's some statistics, so let's put this in perspective for you. The numbers are crazy, and when I see it more and more, I'm like, wow, that's nuts. So first week of January, let's rewind. First week of January, 23% of people will have failed. 23% in the first week, okay? Maybe you're already there because you didn't wake up the next day after your New Year's festivities, okay? Maybe it is now the end. Now we're in the end of the January. We're like fast forwarding. Fast forwarding January of ending of it, 43% of people will have quit. 43. That's almost half of people will have quit. And there's some reasons why. So hang tight here. By mid-February, 80% of people will have fallen off. 80. That's a lot. And by the end of the year of 2026, less than 10% actually succeed. That's another number that I just cannot get behind. And it's because we were not taught here, and we were taught food, and we were taught workouts. And the reason why we have not achieved our goals and past New Year's resolutions is because you didn't have a strategy and you did not have the mindset for it. You're not broken, and it's not that you can't, you just don't focus on this. This is blinded here. I don't even want to focus on that. It is more mental than physical. More mental than physical. Because when you have this locked in, when it's a hard day or something comes up that is thrown in there, you show up because you know your worth. You show up no matter what because you know that's what you need to do. But it does not mean that we're doing more workouts. Tell my clients we focus on a daily habit of journaling, meditation, affirmations, whatever it is, because that's in our control when shit gets wild. When the things that are going on with our work schedule are at home and we can't get to the gym, I want you to ask yourself, did you fill your cup? Did you prioritize you? Did you do the small, consistent action every single day? And it's not more food, perfect meals, or more workouts. It's the action that you did for yourself to fill your cup. Okay? And most common reasons of why people fail is that we're not aware of our patterns that keep us stuck. The patterns that cause us to start over. So, for example, the patterns of the seasons of the year. Holiday season, you do really well for a period of time, and then the holidays come up and you're like, oh, I got to take care of all this stuff, and you lack boundaries where you're not doing the things of filling your cup and then taking care of everything else. So when it does get busy and you're traveling, you're like, oh, well, I'll just do it when I get back. Majority of people do not do the things when they get back. It's hard to get back into a routine if you let it go when you're on vacation or when you're traveling. But here's the thing, when you travel, your mindset travels. And that's why we've built an ebook on travel and videos to correspond with it. Okay? The other one is that we are so outcome focused instead of looking at the behaviors that we need to change. The outcome focus of the weight loss. It's such a big thing that there's nothing in between to achieve that. We need to break it down, okay? And that's what we're not doing. The other piece is there's no accountability. So when you don't do well one day, you have allowed yourself to believe that you're not good enough. So then the next day you're like, I'll just start on Monday. Vicious cycle. We're breaking that cycle today because I'm going to give you action steps on how to do that and what we need to focus on instead. Okay. So accountability is lacking. That's why being a part of a community, we work with hardworking lesbians and allies through this framework that we're going to be talking about. But maybe there's other accountabilities that you can find as well, other resources. Okay, the other two reasons why we fail or why you have failed is trying to change everything at one time. Everything at once. The reason food is so hard is because you've been doing it for years. And so when you try and come into New Year, you're like, well, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to cut out these foods. That's hard to shift into if you haven't done little things up to it. Okay, here's a little perspective for you, number-wise. Imagine if you were to spend 10 minutes every single day for the next 30 days on food. That would be 300 minutes learned about food. You have done the things for 10 years, 15 years, so it's not going to just happen overnight. Food is a mindset, and that's why we always build a foundation here. We need to reclaim our power because before we did not believe it in like the what ifs. Okay, the last one, we're overwhelmed, we're burnt out, and then we quit. We're overwhelmed because we're doing so much. We're overwhelmed because we don't know if we could actually be in these spaces. That anxiety stepping into a gym. I remember when I was first getting back into it after being a former athlete, I did have a lot of anxiety walking into a gym. You know, you think you know a lot of stuff, but like my coaches are the ones that provided me the things that I needed to do. So I actually went back to school to study all this stuff and figure out how to feel confident in a gym. Confidence in a gym comes from doing uncomfortable. Most people don't know what they're doing in the gym, and so the safe zone is the cardio machines. That doesn't build confidence and that doesn't change your body the way that we want to. You have to do strength training. You have to lift weights. You have to do that in order to change stuff. But because we don't know where to start, we go to the safe zones. But imagine if you had something that met you where you were. You would build that confidence. And that's exactly what we do with clients. The burnout. When people try and focus on eating healthier and like doing meal prep, like from breakfast all the way to dinner and meal prepping every single thing, that's exhausting. So here's what I would tell you to shift is focus on one new meal a week. Maybe it's just you need to get better at eating breakfast. You've skipped it and you don't eat breakfast. Maybe for the next 30 days, making sure breakfast is a priority. We should be getting 30 to 40 grams of protein at our breakfast. And when people say, I can't get protein, I can't eat that amount, that is a mindset problem. You can, you just aren't being intentional. So what the first thing that we need to do before anything starts in this process of your New Year resolutions or goals is that the first step to actual change, and no one has taught you this, is awareness. We need to become aware of ourselves. That's the first step. But because New Year's hits, we're like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So we don't even focus on here. So we need to reclaim our power. We need to reconnect with ourselves. And when we get here, damn, that feels good. Because we have built a foundation from the bottom up. Okay? So I want you to look at it this way. Before you can change food, before you can change workouts, before you download another fucking workout program because you think that's going to solve something, you need to ask yourself some of these questions first, okay? These questions that I want you to really think about to start being aware is, what patterns are keeping me stuck? What patterns are they? Is it that when you get to Thursday night in your week, it's Thirsty Thursdays, you go out, and so then Friday you're unproductive and don't do anything, and so then you have this cycle of cutting calories because you overconsumed, and you're like, well, this is my solution to fix that, so I'm going to cut them and I'm going to go do more cardio and I'm going to do workouts, and then on the weekend you're not intentional, and then you just kind of throw in the towel. So what is the pattern exactly that we need to identify and become aware of to now start changing slowly? A pattern that I had was I drank Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I did have a drinking problem, and that kept me stuck. So my pattern that I needed to become aware of was like, okay, I got to start being better about alcohol. I actually did a 75 hard 1 year when we were moving to our new town when I was going into a new teaching job, and I did it, and that was kind of the beginning of giving up alcohol slowly, meeting myself where I'm at, but also that was a really intense thing that I did, this 75 hard. It was like I had to kind of change it a little bit because I was coaching, so I just made sure that I was getting my steps plus my workout instead of like going outside for 45 minutes, but cutting out alcohol for 75 days as well as fast food and other things. It's here, and that is hard to do, but I was in a place where I'm like, something has to change. Change only happens when you are ready to accept it and take ownership of your actions. The other questions that I want you to ask yourself: where do I lack boundaries? Boundaries are hard. Because you say yes to everything, you don't have energy to give to yourself. You are so exhausted because you're pouring into everybody else. The U-Haul moments, the people pleasing, that has caused you to be so worn out that you have the resentment and the anger built up, so then you take it out on the person that you love. And then it's just a vicious cycle. You don't do the things for you because you don't know your worth. Boundaries are power. It's part of that reclaiming. Start saying no to people. If you constantly say yes, you need to start practicing that. And boundaries are hard for people. They're not easy to do. But here's the thing. You were not taught on how to say no. As a kid, you were taught to be compliant. You were taught to say yes, unless you're a little shit. But you were not taught this. You were not given this skill. And so now you have to become aware of what needs to happen. And as a hardworking lesbian myself, I wanted to please so many people, and really I needed to love myself. And when I started to do that, my boundaries became stronger. Ain't nobody coming in here and doing anything to me anymore. I'm not going to let people push me over backwards. I know my worth, but I also love myself. Okay? The other ones that we have: do you use food when you're stressed out? Or the lack of food. So sometimes when we are stressed and going through it, it's easy to grab certain foods or sweets. Okay, is it that you reach for alcohol to numb your emotions? I did that. And what that did for me when I look at alcohol, especially since, we went out on New Year's Eve, and I've been sober the last 2 New Year's, and it's always been a really hard time for Holly and I in past years. And it's not one of my proud moments, but when I would drink on New Year's Eve, because I was so angry, I would then get into fights. And we did have New Year's Eves where we would get in an argument, but it's because I drank to a point where that anger came out, and it came out on the person that I loved. And I look back to, this recent one, New Year's Eve, And it was so nice to be sober and just enjoy myself and be able to go home with my wife, and we're not fighting. We're watching Stranger Things and just loving each other because I took care of me. She drinks and she does her thing, and that doesn't bother me. I know that I needed to do this in order for my relationship to keep going and keep thriving. It's uncomfortable, but because I did not know how to deal with it, my emotions got the best of me after drinking. So that was, again, becoming aware of what I needed to change, my patterns that were fucking broken. But no one ever taught me how to communicate effectively of like what's going on internally and get it out. Alcohol was to shove it down and not deal with it. So then it'd come out in a nasty way. And it was really like full circle moment for me, because there was somebody at the bar that we came across, and yeah, that gave me a thoughts of like, whoa, that's how I used to be, because this man then got into fights with people at the bar and got kicked out. And I was like, I'm enjoying this. Like, I'm sober and loving my life. I'm thriving. And this person actually came over and spoke to us and had said, because he was kind of a dick at first to Holly, and then eventually he went over to our friends and then came over to us. And here's something funny for you. Or funny what I said to him, but also like, you don't know what kind of people you're going to get, so you have to like tread water. But he kept like trying to summons me over to him, and I was like, I'm going over there. I am not stepping foot in that space. So I just stayed at my table, and then he came over to us, and he's like, so how come you didn't come when I called you? I said, I don't come when a man tells me to. That is not something I do. And he just looked at me like, what? So no, I'm standing my ground, and I don't have to do that for you. If you caught on to the little funny there. And the other thing too with that conversation with this guy, he's like talking about how he was in prison and crazy stuff. And I'm like, but you're here throwing your life away still drinking? That makes sense. And the more and more we chatted, Holly was like telling him, I don't really appreciate how you treated me. And she called him out for it. And he was like, oh, no, like, I love you too. Like, you guys are great. Like, I love this. Like, and again, a freaking, a fascination for men for whatever reason. Two women that are together that are not the common perspective of lesbians, like a butch and whatever. We're two girls that are pretty, and this happens to us, has happened to us a lot in the beginning, and this came up this night. And he's like, yeah, like I just like really like this. And we're like, okay, well, this is weird. And then eventually, towards the end of the conversation, he's just like, I'm really jealous of what you guys have. I'm really jealous that you guys are just like, look so happy. And he started to get very emotional and almost started to cry. And this was, again, a full circle moment for me, because he doesn't love himself at all. And you can tell. And the way he was talking, he's jealous of what we have. And I grabbed his arm and I touched him like in a nice way of like, dude, you can have this kind of happiness as well. But it starts with you working on yourself. And that's hard to do. He's like, I don't want to talk about this. And then immediately went back to drinking. I was like, doesn't want to deal with it. And again, for me, seeing that, I'm like, I'm never going back to old cows, because I love myself and who I've become. My relationship with Holly is so good that why would I ever go back to toxic? And that's where it's one of those things where it's very uncomfortable for people to truly put forth the effort, because you have to face yourself and get clear on your why, get clear on you. And it sucks, because I've had to do certain things and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. But now where I'm at, I'm like, it's not as tough as it is anymore. There's some challenges, but it's so much easier. Okay, so now as we look at the whole 3R framework. So I've asked you those questions, and maybe you kind of go back and like really put some thought into it, or even like journal about it. And this is a thing that I never thought possible of, like journaling, but I got myself into therapy about 2 years ago, and I started to become a person to completely change the way I look at things, how I needed to rewire my brain. I lived in a negative home. My mom was a person that never took action, has still not taken ownership of her actions for how she treated me at my wedding day. It's one of those things is like, it's hard to do, but you need to take ownership of the things in order to start reclaiming your power. And that is going back to the first step of change is awareness. And most people don't want to deal with it, and that's okay, but you will keep going back to old ways and never become 2.0. So our 3R framework, again, starts with the mindset. And that's what I had to do. I had to rewire my brain, and I started doing journaling, affirmations, looking myself in the mirror legitimately. Like there's a Mel Robbins exercise of like high-fiving, because a lot of us don't look ourselves in the mirror. We avoid it because we don't like what we see. That was me for a long time. And so I started to rewire my brain and the words that I was doing and saying. And this is where we need to reclaim our power and let go of past failures. Stop running and start noticing what needs to change. What are the small shifts that you can do? You need to own your power. You need to own up for the things that you've done. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but you can do this. So stop saying you can or what if. Those words no longer are part of your vocabulary, period. Become the person that you want because you can when you start to reclaim your power. The second R is all about reconnecting. You become disconnected with yourself due to past experiences, past relationships, your work that you've poured so much into where you have put on 20 or 30 pounds because you've said yes to everything, just like with your family or your spouse or whoever has caused you to become disconnected. And hear me on this. You are not broken. I have been able to change my life completely after being arrested, which was a peace disturbance, being arrested, to losing jobs because lack of support, where I questioned, am I good enough? Am I a good enough teacher? I know now, I've always known, but when I was in teaching, I had people rip me apart, so I didn't think I was good enough. But now, what I do now is way more impactful what it ever was in a classroom setting, because I became reconnected with myself and not focusing on a bunch of food and not focusing on my workouts. It was getting clear on my why. The why is the game changer. And this is where I really want you to spend time with it for yourself, okay? Most people don't do this. We want the instant gratification, and so we go to food, we go to workouts. But if you take these next 7 days and really deep dive into you and get clear on your why, you will be more powerful and you'll be able to beat the statistics. This piece of paper here, crazy that this is something that I still carry to this day. It still sits at my desk even though I'm not in education. But my last 2 years of teaching, when I had a person, a parent, no, I shouldn't even say parent, a guardian because they were a grandpa, ripped me across social media. And that was where I really struggled for 2 years. I got really dark and twisted. And I was like, man, I can't believe this is happening again. And no one, the admin team at that building I was in said that they were going to take care of it. They fucking didn't. I had to stay silent, and students of mine were talking about me in my classroom and pulling up my mugshot in my old classroom, and no one was shutting it down. They got to continue to do this and spread rumors. So all of that stuff was then following me to the high school that I worked at. Talk about, again, questioning your worth, and why would I want to get out of bed and go to work? Because I was also given the opportunity to walk away quietly and not pay out my $5,000 contract as a teacher. And I was like, I'm not going to give you that power. I'm going to figure out a way to make this work and come back from it. Make this a thing where I thrive. 2 years I struggled. There was this coach that I met at an event with Intentional Hairdresser, who I now work with in-person events, which I'll be teaching at 2 of them in 2026. So go give her a follow. Intentional Hairdresser is the name. But knowing your why, this piece of paper saved me for 2 years. This coach that I came across at that event, she talked about it, and I kept it in my backpack, and then all of a sudden I started pulling it out of my backpack at this teaching job. And it was always something that I looked at the beginning of the day, and then I would journal about my day. So it says, your power will either amplify the light in others, or trigger the shadows in them. How they respond has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Stay aligned with your own vibration and let people meet you there. This piece of paper saved my life for 2 years, because when we rely so much on motivation, it doesn't work. It's fleeting as fuck. That paper was a reminder of like, you can do this. All of these things that have happened to you do not define you, and you are going to come out of it. And so what I did for those 2 years, I built what I'm talking about now. I'm still building. And I know in 2026, it's going to be even more powerful because more people are seeing what I'm doing. We have built everything possible for you to be successful. Okay. And when I did this more and more with like the why, now I ask clients, next 7 days, it's not about more food, more perfect meals and workouts. I need you to get clear on you. Why do you want to lose the weight? Is it because you want to be able to walk into a job and apply for that job that you've been scared to do because now you're confident in yourself? Is it that you want to be able to look damn good on your wedding day? Is it that you want to be able to wake up in your 50s or your 60s or your 70s and not be feeling like shit, but be so confident and comfortable in who you are, loving yourself? As a queer person, we struggle with that so deeply. And for me, for a long time, I struggle with my identity. I don't anymore. I love who I see in the mirror. I thrive. My freaking Joan Jett's haircut. There's so many things. Like, this life that I'm doing and living is because I got clear on this. This why has changed now, but I still reference this paper from this coach that I worked with. So, reconnecting, you got to spend some time. And gonna be heavy. And that's why we have built courses on that, to start breaking out of self-doubt to self-love. That's one of the courses that is so powerful, and there is documents that come with it that I absolutely love. So that second R is the deepest part, but it also talks about how to learn more about food, because that's a mindset shift. It's also about how to start showing up for yourself in workouts where, let me put it this way, you have been uncomfortable in your skin for maybe 15, 20 years, for maybe your whole life. Being a queer member, you question like, can I like live this life? If you have been doing it for so many years, you can be in a gym for 45 minutes. You can be uncomfortable for that time because you've been uncomfortable forever. So going into a gym, that's a cakewalk. You can do it. You just need to believe here. Because it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks about you. What matters is how you feel about yourself. So going back to your why, don't give a fuck about what people say or are looking at you, because they're always going to have opinions. They're always going to have thoughts. Let them. The power of let them. If you haven't listened to Mel Robbins, check her out. She's amazing. But those are the people that are going to stay stuck because they're not becoming aware of who they are. But you are right now, because I'm telling you, the more you do this every single day and training the flabby muscle, not your core, which maybe it is, but this is the muscle that is the most flabby on your body. You train that every single day. I guarantee you will become 2.0. How do I know? Because I do it. And I have for the last 2-3 years now. It's been uncomfortable, but this is the year that I'm doing more for myself in a way that feels good, helping you become a better version. The regaining process is my absolute favorite. It's where clients now see who they are becoming and they love themselves. Where, I had a client after 7 days in the program, she had a gym pass for 5 years, never used it. And then she came and started working with me, going to the gym and feeling so much more focused and loving the process. But it's because we have started here and getting clear on that to where we can move to everything else. Regaining your power is doing the consistent actions, but we're no longer making excuses, but we're showing up and we're doing the damn thing. It's everything locks into place. So when you're here, workouts, it's no longer an excuse. You find a way to do it. You find a way to show up for yourself because you know your worth. And I want you to know, it gets less and less uncomfortable in the gym setting because that's when you gain that confidence in you. So what I want you to do these next 7 days, I really, really want you to take time of what needs to actually change. It's not more food. It's not more perfect workouts. What needs to actually change? What are you going to focus on? And being specific, not 5,000 things, because that's why we fail. One small thing. Is it that you want to focus on food of eating breakfast for the next 30 days? Is it that you want to learn one new meal each week? Is it that you want to be intentional with just tracking your food? Because if you want to lose the weight, you have to be consistent. And sometimes when we do go out to eat, we're like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see they went over on calories. Let me put this in perspective for you. If you had 2,000 calories as your calorie deficit amount for every single day, that's what you were supposed to stay at. And if you were to take the average of 7 days, you would have 14,000 calories at the end of your week. If you were to stay under 14,000, you are fine. If you go like to 20, that's when it's a problem. So one day does not define you. This is why we're going to be dropping our macro ebook on Monday the 5th to really get a better understanding that the problem is not you, it's that we just need to have a better mindset and relearn our bad behaviors and habits. That's what's the problem, guys. It's not food's hard and unhealthy is too difficult. It's just here. This is the problem that's keeping you from going, oh, I can't do this. Stop saying you can't and figure out a way. Become aware, set an intention, and have some action steps. So if you are going to be listening to this today, you want to win your week, it starts with, okay, Saturday, I'm going to go get my groceries. Sunday, I'm going to meal prep all of my breakfast so that way it's done. This is being intentional. So what are you going to do? Okay, the other things that we could do for the next 7 days. Go for a walk after every meal, 10 minutes. Be more intentional when you move your body. Lots of people work at desks, so our lower back, our shoulders, those things hurt. But what happens when we sit all day, we don't move our body in a way to adjust. So let's move our body and be intentional and do little things like walking, or we're just doing some hip stretches. It's really simple. It's really easy. The hip stretches could be like 3 minutes. 2 different exercises, 30 seconds, boom, you're done. One small consistent action instead of saying, I'm going to do this 5 times a week of going to the gym. Let's meet ourselves where we're at. It's also becoming aware of what needs to truly change, okay? Because clarity creates consistency, and consistency builds confidence. And that's what I absolutely love. This is all about letting go and reclaiming your power to where you're reconnected and you're regaining the things. So here's another thing that I want you to do is to take 3 photos. And you can also put them on a piece of paper and write it down. But those 3 photos, 2 things that I want you to write down, or an actual picture of what you're going to burn and let go of from 2025. Okay? Let it go. It doesn't serve you anymore. And then the 3rd photo, so 2 photos of that, of letting go. The 3rd one, or thing that you write down is, what are you going to accomplish in 2026? Okay? And then once you figure out what that is, of what you're going to be focusing on with the thing for 2026, now I need you to really put forth some effort. And this is one of the journals that I bought, and it's crazy because it said it was for men only. And I commented at them and I was like, listen, it's for anybody that wants to grow. And I bought it because I'm like, I love it. So now I want you to get more specific. So typically should be at the end of the week we're reflecting, at the end of the month that we're reflecting, after 90 days, and kind of self-check and saying, oh yeah, I'm doing pretty good. So this journal, it has it all broken down from the days, as well as like our tracker, productivity, as well as rating my day, my thoughts for the week, and then it has like a seasonal check, it has a monthly thing. This is a roadmap on me reaching my goals in 2026. And because people focus so much on these 2 things and not focusing on writing it down and getting more clear of a roadmap, it's why we spin our wheels. So really spend some time so you can do that. Because without a roadmap, you quit and you jump from program to program or diet to diet and it doesn't work. And again, take the time to get clear on you. If you don't do this, you stay stuck. But I've given you the things that you need to become unstuck and to win 2026. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for tomorrow and start reclaiming your power today and becoming the person that you want. You can do this, and it starts here, the foundation, and then moving around. Okay, you got this. Let's grow together. 2026 is my year. 2026 is your year. If this episode today was helpful, what I'm just going to ask of you is to send this to somebody that needs to hear it. Give a follow, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and YouTube. And we do look forward to the other episodes that we have coming in 2026 as we're bringing on special guests. We have another teacher that's going to be coming on the podcast this month, as well as next month. We are going to be going to meet a queer-owned business in Kansas City, and then another business here where we live in Ashland that is queer-owned, and other people that, if you are interested in being on our podcast and want to talk about certain things, we will be dropping a link on our socials to be able to submit your story, and then we would go through the interview process and seeing if it's a good fit and what you are comfortable with. Okay, but we appreciate you here on our podcast and hope you have a happy new year. And like I said, you got this. Start setting the intention, becoming aware, and showing up for you.